Yes, today we are going to learn about virus. This is the chapter 8 from second BPC. This lesson I'm going to explain you what is virus today. So before going into virus, let us know what is microbiology. So microbiology in Greek word micros means small, bios means life, and logos means study. So we're going to learn about the microorganisms which are so small and they cannot be seen through a naked eye. So they require a microscope to see. So we have already known, so in our last introduction I've told you what are microbes, and microbes are microbes like algae, fungi, protozoa, all are omnipresent. They cannot be seen through our naked eye and they are present everywhere. Means it can be in the soil, it can be in the mountains, it can be in the atmosphere, it can be on the land, anywhere. So they are called omnipresent and they are seen in vast numbers. So, coming to the why are we learning about microorganisms play a very primary role in every field of human endeavor. They affect the life in several ways. So, so coming to the different ways they are affecting us, they cause so many diseases in the animals, plants, and even human beings. Because of that, we learn about microbiology. And coming to the virus, I'm going to explain you what is virus. So, virus, it's a typical character, and it is a unique group of biological entities because it can infect every type of cell. It can be a bacteria, it can be algae, it can be a fungi, or it can be a protozoa, or it can be a plants and animals. That is where they are called as biological entities. They affect each and every organism, even though it is a microscopic, very smaller in size, but it has so much of wide impact on all the living organisms like bacteria, algae, or fungi, or protozoa, or plants and animals. So now coming to the virus. Viruses are very different from other organisms. They are not composed of cells and they cannot be seen under light microscope. So normal microscope normal like a compound microscope, you cannot see this virus. You can only see through electron microscope, and it is more, and it can be only viewed by only some technology like ultracentrifugation and X-ray crystallography and electron microscopy only can detect what is virus. Okay, so virus particles contains a single type of nucleic acid. It can be a DNA or it can be a RNA. So the nucleic acid can be a DNA or RNA. So it's not a typical character or typical, the shape is not so typical. It is only a small, simple, it has a simple shape. Either it may be having DNA or RNA inside the body of the virus. So the nucleic acid is enclosed in a protein coat. It must be having a protein coat. The coat is sometimes covered by envelope. The envelope can be made up of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. So the envelope can be made up of it is made up of lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. So coming to the virus shape, can you all see the different shapes of virus? We have different shapes of virus here. The first shape is vaccinia virus. This is a vaccinia virus. In this you can find. Can you see this is the protein coat, the outer protein coat. This is the outer protein coat, and this can be of lipids, or it can be a carbohydrate, it can be a protein, it can be a protein, lipid, or carbohydrate. The body can be made, this protein coat can be made up of these three different varieties, and inside it can be having a single nucleic acid. It can be a DNA or RNA. Like here vaccinovirus is like this is the shape of the virus. It's like an oval shape. And now coming to the rabies virus, here also you can see this is a typical shape, you can see, and it has an outer protein coat. This is the protein coat, and inside you have the nucleic acid. And now coming to the mumps virus. In mumps virus also you can observe that it is have a circular DNA like a coronavirus. See the coronavirus which is there inside, usually is a shape of a spherical shape like this. You have the protein coat, and you also have a nucleic acid. Okay, and this is now coming to the bacteria phase. It's a typical bacteria phase which is helical in structure. This helical structure, can you see this is having head, tail, head and neck and tail fibers. So this is a typical virus which really usually affects the bacteria. Okay, and it's helical in shape, and in this shape you can find that there's a head and neck and tail fibers. And this coming to this next virus, we have that is the rubella virus. This rubella virus is only having the head and the tail only, like this. And now adenovirus. In adenovirus, can you see this? This is one more typical character of the virus, which is which where you can observe the protein code, and there's a isohedral nucleic acid inside it. And this is one type of virus which is seen in a usually in the rubella virus, okay, and adenovirus. And now coming to the HIV virus. HIV virus is completely different, where you can observe that it will be of this. And this is the adenovirus, and this is the HIV virus, which is looking like which is a protein coat, and it is having something the nucleic acid. You can see the thread-like structures. These are called a nucleic acid. It can be a DNA or RNA. And now coming to the influenza virus. Influenza virus also you have the protein coat, and also you have the nucleic acid inside it. And now coming to the TMV, and we have in this way we have different virus of different shapes. Have you all observed the different shapes of the virus? Everywhere you can observe there is only it is only having a protein coat, and it is having only the nucleic acid, nothing else. So this is about the virus, okay. And now coming to the virus. Why are we learning about this virus? I've already explained you, because it is a infectious. It is an infectious parasite, and it can once until and unless it is outside the body of the organism, it is like a non-living. Once it enters into the body of an organism, a living organism, it can be a bacteria, algae, or fungi, or protozoa, plants, or animals, or even human beings. It becomes very active. That is what is called infectious particle, and is an obligate intracellular parasite. Why do we say parasite? Because I've already told you, it can only out until unless it is outside. It is like a normal organism. Once it enters into the body of organism, it becomes a parasite. Means it can only multiply after entering into the body. They cannot multiply until unless they're outside the host cell. Once it enters into the host, a host can be a plant, it can be an animal, or it can be a human being. Once it enters, then only it starts its multiplication, and and once it enters into the body of the host, it starts its genetic and metabolic machinery to make up and release the daughter of progeny virus. So once it enters the body of the organism, then it starts multiplying inside the body of the organism, means the host, and starts giving out the daughter of progeny virus. In this process, they destroy the host cell and causing serious damages and disease in the humans, plants, and animals. So when they enter into the body, they start replicating, and they start giving out the daughter of progeny virus. But meanwhile, they destroy once they enter the body, they start destroying the host. Host is nothing, the player where they enter. So the host cell gets completely destroyed, and thus damages the host cell and cause the disease in the humans. The host can be, I told you all, it can be a human, it can be a plants, or it can be the animals. And this study of the virus is known to be as virology. The study of virus is called virology. The study of bacteria, already I told, it is a bacteria. Like this, the study of this completely about virus is called virology. Now discovery, we have so many there are so many people who have started have tried to know about virus. And coming to the first person who has first started is Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner, he was the one person who was trying to know the nature of the smallpox disease. So when he was learning about the smallpox disease, then he came to know that there is something which is infecting the organism. Then he has identified that organism to be as virus. And later on, Louis Pasteur also has tried to get the vaccine of rabies. Then he also came to know there's some creature which is really poisonous, and he gave the disease agent as a virus, and he told it is a poison, and he has given the name called poison. And Von Waszewski is one more. Von Waszewski in 1892, he is the one more person who has also done so much of research on mosaic disease of tobacco. And in tobacco he could find that this mosaic disease, and he came to know that it is also a virus, a filterable, and he gave the name as filterable agent. In this way, have so many people who has started learning about the virus, and they gave the name as a virus, and they told that it is a poison which can cause which can completely destroy the host when it enters the body of the organism. So how did we come to know about this virus? We only came to know the virus only through the ultracentrifugation. It's not so easy to identify the virus, but the virus is so smaller than bacteria and far smaller than many smaller microorganisms. So in order to see them or view the bacteria virus, it was only by through ultracentrifugation and X-ray crystallography and electron microscopy only could see them, or only could give the detailed structure of the virus. So these are the three techniques in which we can identify the ultra structure, and this was only been reported under these techniques. So, like the virus was identified under ultracentrifugation, X-ray crystallography, and electron microscopy. That only can give the clear structure of the virus. And now coming to the classification of virus. So now there was no complete because it is neither a non-living or not a non-living. Only it enters once it enters the body of the organism when it becomes living. So the International Committee of Taxonomy of Virus has classified and named the virus, means through nomenclature named the virus, and they give two, and they are given the three hierarchical levels. Like first one is family name, which includes the subfamilies. Okay, they gave genus and species. These are the three things given. One is family name, genus, and species. So the family name was always ending with Viridae. So any organism, if they have a disease, if at all it is a polio disease, it was called polio virus. Like this, yeah, after the disease, the name is given as virus. Okay, so the name will be there. Then comes if the disease is a polio, then the polio name will be coming in the front, like it is coming in the genus name position. And the Viridae is the suffix which is called the family name. That Viridae has been attached to the name. So every organism, if it is a cholera, then the virus name comes, the disease name comes, then comes the virus name. Like this, every with the attached with the name of the disease, even the genus name is being attached. And coming to the structure of virus, I've told you virus is having the range of 300 nanometers, and TME is about 200 nanometers in on parvovirus. Okay, and now coming to the structure, we have, I've told you, it can be a long rods, or it can be of a spherical, it can be oval shape, or it can be a different type of virus, which I've showed you already. So it has different types of shapes, but the typical thing what we have to learn, all the virus consists of two basic components. What you have to learn is it may have only the outer protein coat and the inner nucleic acid. It can be a DNA or it can be RNA. This is the typical virus. Each and every virus will have these two structures. So the protein coat is the one more important thing to remember. Is the protein coat is the one which will help which surrounds the nucleic acid, and it helps it is a protective covering for the genome. So genome is nothing but it can be, that is nucleic acid. So the nucleic acid is been protected by a coat of protein, that is called capsid. So each and every virus has a protein coat, and this protein coat can be a capsid, which is made up of lipid, carbohydrate, and protein, and this is a protective cover for the nucleic acid. It may have a protein subunit. So inside the capsid you may have capsomeres, like in case of tobacco mosaic virus, which I'm going to discuss you in the later class. A number of capsomeres are characteristics for each type of virus. So let us know what is it. So coming to the virus contains its genetic information. So I've told you all, it is a small typical character which has only two things to remember. One is the outer protein coat and inner nucleic acid. So virus contains its genetic information in their double-stranded DNA. So double-stranded DNA means it will be having like this. This is a double-stranded DNA. So inside the body of the organism, nucleic acid can be of like this. If it is having double-stranded DNA or single-stranded RNA. Okay, and now this nucleic acid can be either like this or like this inside the protein coat. Okay, and now coming to the virus that infect the plants. Usually the virus which infects the plants will have ssRNA, means single-stranded RNA like this, in plants, and double-stranded RNA in case of animals. Okay, so now bacteriophages are usually DS is nothing double-stranded DNA. So bacteriophages are nothing but a virus which affects the bacteria are called bacteriophages, and they are usually having their dsDNA. DS is nothing but double stranded DNA like this inside the body of the virus. Okay, and most virus has a single nucleic acid molecule, but few have more than one. Like in HIV we have two identical molecules of RNA, but HIV virus is a virus which affects the human beings. Okay, and this causes a disease called AIDS in the body of the organism. AIDS is a disease which is affected in the human beings, and this HIV virus will have two as identical molecules of RNA. It has more than one. So usually I've told you all, each and every virus has a protein coat and a single nucleic acid, but in this case of HIV it has identical molecules of RNA representing the genome copies. So it has more than one nucleic acid. And now coming to the next, the tobacco mosaic virus. It's a typical virus which is a regularly asked question in even in the NEET exams and also in your board exams. It can come for a long answer question, so please pay attention in this. The tobacco mosaic virus is also called to be TMV. It's a crystallized first. Okay, it was given by Franklin. It is a rod shaped virus. Can you all see this typical virus? It's a rod shaped virus. It is of 300 nanometers long and 18 to 19 nanometers in diameter, and the molecular weight of it is 39 into 10 raised to 6 Daltons. This is the molecular weight of this particular tobacco mosaic virus. And what you have to know is that this typical virus, the tobacco mosaic virus, has a typical characteristic where you can find that it is having a protein. These are all called protein codes, which are called capsid. Inside this capsid you have nearby to 2130 capsomeres. So inside each protein code, these are called to be a capsid. These are called capsids. And inside these capsids you have very small subunits. They are called as capsomeres. And these capsomeres are nearby to how many? 2130 protein subunits. And these are and inside this protein code you have this you have a coiled structure, this spherically coiled structure. This is called to be as single stranded RNA. This is a coiled structure which is a single stranded RNA which is spirally coiled on the inside the protein coat. And now come the body of a typical bacteriophage such as T4. T4 can be distinguished into head and tail. What is head and tail? Now let us go with the next part, that is bacteriophage. So bacteriophage is also called to be as a T4 bacteria, and T4 bacteria because it has a head and it has a tail. The head and the neck portion, collar portion, and then the tail. These are the important thing to remember. And this is the capsid head. The capsid is nothing but the protein coat. This is the protein coat which has the outer layer, which is very important because it protects the nucleic acid or genome. Okay, and now this is a nucleic acid. I told you all this bacteriophage. This bacteriophage is the bacteria. This is a virus which affects the bacteria. Okay, and that is what is called bacteriophage, and it has a nucleic acid, a double stranded nucleic acid inside the protein coat. And this part is called collar region, and this is called the sheet of the bacteriophage. And you have the base plate. On the base plates you have the spikes and the tail fibers. So these spikes and the tail fibers play a very, very important role. So when they start infecting the bacteria, then they go and first they go and land on the bacteria with these tail fibers and spikes. And this virus has a important characteristic that once it attacks the body of a bacterium, it releases an enzyme called lysozyme enzyme. And this lysozyme enzyme, what will do? It will dissolve the bacteria cell wall. So I'm going to explain you how it is. So first let us know the structure of bacteriophage. So bacteriophage structure is very small and very easy to learn. What is it? It has a head, it has a collar region or neck region, and then you also have a tail fibers. So the capsid is the one protein coat which protects the nucleic acid. The nucleic acid is present inside this virus. And we have the collar region, we have the sheet, we have the spikes and tail fibers. These are the one very very important because they only go and land on the bacteria. Okay, for the virus to multiply and reproduce and replicate, it must invade a host cell. Host cell is nothing but now here in this case of bacteria, the host cell with the bacteria, because it is going and landing on the bacteria and takes to the host metabolism machinery. As soon as it goes and attacks the bacteria, it immediately takes the take overs the bacteria metabolic machinery. And though the method by which the virus enters and exits the host cell may vary, the basic mechanism viral multiplication. So once it enters into the body of the virus, bacteria, immediately it starts replicating. It starts its cycle called lytic cycle and lysogenic cycle, which I am going to explain you now. So in lytic cycle, it ends with the lysis. So when it attacks the bacteria, almost the bacteria, it starts replicating inside the bacteria and kills the bacteria. That is why it is called lysis, means death of the host cell. So the bacteria dies after the replication. Once it gets multiplied and once the daughter cells have been released, or daughter bacteria once the daughter progeny cells are released, what will happen? Immediately the bacteria dies. That is why it is called lysis or death of the host cell. Whereas one more cycle called lysogenic cycle, here the host cell will not die but remains alive, but or it completes the cycle, the virus completes the cycle within the bacteria and leaves the bacteria after the division. So in this lysogenic cycle, only the host cell is only the platform for its replication. Once it completes its replication, it leaves the bacteria. This is about the lysogenic cycle. So lysis is the first type of lysis cycle which is seen in bacteria phage, kills the bacteria or keeps the it leads to death of the host cell. But in case of lysogenic cycle, the host cells remain alive in the after the replication also. So now let us go with the lytic cycle. So all the T event pages are these are the pages which can be a T2 or T4 or T6. These are different types of bacteriophages, T2, T4, T6, which exhibit the lytic cycle, and the pages are called virulent pages. And these are called viral because the virus plays a very important role in the body of the bacterium. That is why they are called as virulent pages. And this cycle can be or differentiated into several phases. So once it enters into the bacteria, it undergoes four different phases. One is adsorption, then penetration, latent period, and lysis. These are the four types of steps which are seen in the virus when it enters into the bacteria. In bacteria phase, we have in lytic cycle we have four pages. One is adsorption, penetration, latent period, and lysis. Let us see what is called adsorption. So I've told you all in the beginning that this is the bacteria. See, can you all see this rectangular structure? This is, imagine this is a bacteria. The bacteria is it can be of different shapes. When it enters into the bacteria, what is it? This bacteria is called to be host. This is called host cell, and it also already has a genetic material. So this bacteria is already having a genetic material. It can be a plasmid or it can be a circular DNA. But and it is also having a thick cell wall. Now, when if this virus comes and attacks the bacteria, it goes and pokes the body of the bacteria with the help of spikes and tail fibers. With the spikes and tail fibers, it goes and penetrates into the bacteria. And once this virus enters the bacteria, it starts poking this bacterial cell wall. So what does it do? There is an enzyme released by the virus. The enzyme is called lysozyme enzyme. So what does the lysozyme enzyme do is, that lysozyme enzyme will dissolve the cell wall. See, can you see that here the cell wall can be seen clearly. But here what happens, once the virus has entered the bacteria or started attacking the bacteria, it dissolves the cell wall. Here the cell wall is dissolved. Dissolve means dissolve is nothing but it opens. This part is open because of lysis. Lysis, where the lysozyme enzyme which is released by virus will clear this part and it opens this part, and this is called as dissolving. So that this part is dissolved, and you can see easily the genetic material, the DNA, it starts entering into the body of the virus. So in adsorption, what will happen? Attachment of virus. So the attachment of the virus is seen in the adsorption to the host bacterium. This is called adsorption, and this page gets attached to the surface of the host at specific sites with the help of tail fibers. Once it attaches here, what will happen? The DNA material which is there inside this protein coat will enter into the body of the bacteria at this point. So once it enters into the bacteria, you can find there slowly the DNA material enters in, and this part is called to be ghost. This part is called ghost because here there is no more genetic material. The material is already been released into the bacterial body. So once it enters the body of the bacteria, you find this part is called ghost, and it stays outside the bacteria only. And this is the first part of adsorption. And the second part of the adsorption, you can find the pages are able to release an enzyme. Already I told you all in the second part, in penetration, you can find there is an enzyme called lysozyme which hydrolyzes the bacterial cell wall, means it dissolves the bacterial cell wall, and the injection of the bacteria pays nucleic acid. So slowly the nucleic acid enters into the host cell, and this part is called penetration, and the protein cell remains outside the host cell. So the protein is already outside, and this is called to be a ghost. Once the protein code is stayed outside the body of the host cell, it is called to be a ghost. Soon after the phased DNA injection, the host DNA degrades and the cell is forced to make viral constituents. This is about the penetration. Next comes the latent period. In latent period, the first half of the latent period is called eclipse because the host cell do not contain any complete infective virus. Okay, during the second half of the infection, you can find the latent period, you can call it as maturation period. The synthesis of complete new virus occurs. Usually the coat proteins are synthesized first and nucleic acid later. So in the first part, what do you find? That once the virus enters into the bacteria, you find that the nucleic acid goes and enters into the body of the bacteria. In the first phase, the latent period or eclipse period, you don't find any changes, but slowly in the body of the organism, you can find that the DNA starts entering. See, have you seen the DNA, which is this DNA of the virus enters into the body of the virus with the help of lysozyme enzyme. Once it enters, it starts replicating with the body of the phage DNA which is present inside, which the DNA which is present in the bacteria gets dissolved with, combined with that, and you find slowly first you find the protein coat, and then comes the first it releases the complete we can find first the proteins are synthesized. These are the proteins. Can you see these are called the proteins? See, can you see these are the proteins which have been formed, and then comes the circular DNA. First, the protein coat is nothing but the viral protein coat will be starting released, synthesized, and then comes the circular DNA. So both these things are released in the latent period. So they are produced in the second half of the period. Okay, first half of the period is almost, it takes the position, and second half only it starts doing the replication. So at the end of the latent period, can you all observe the host cell wall ruptures and bursts out because all these complete pages have been developed. Can you see so many viruses present inside the body of the bacteria? So this is called to be as a end stage of the lytic cycle, where you find so many pages have been are already ready, and they are ready to move out of the bacteria. So when this all are matured enough, they have come to the stage where they have to get released. So at that time, an enzyme called lysozyme again plays a very important role by destroying the cell wall. So the wall is dissolved here, the wall is dissolved here, and the number of newly synthesized phages, these are called phages, bacteria phages, they all get released. See, can you all observe? These all bacteria phages are coming out. Once they come out, again they start searching for the new host. So again they go on searching for the new host. And can you all observe, girls, once this bacteriophages have been developed inside the body, it already comes out. Now the bacteria cell wall, the bacteria is completely destroyed in this case. That is why it is called lytic cycle. Because this lytic cycle will lead to the death of the bacteria. So here the host is the one which is completely affected in this in this stage. So this lytic cycle releases so many page DNAs into the atmosphere and into the surroundings, and once these pages are released out again, they will help in they will go in the search of one more bacteria and they start their cycle. And this is about the lytic cycle. Now we'll go with the lysogenic cycle. Lysogenic cycle is one more cycle where it will not affect the bacteria, but it affects but it does only the replication and leaves the bacteria. So for this we are going to learn about the lysogenic cycle, the second cycle in the bacteriophage. Some bacteriophages such as lambda pages do not causes lysis or death of the host, but in lysogenic cycle I've already told you all, this causes death of the bacteria, but in this case you find the death is not there. Okay, so the death, it will not cause the death or death of the bacteria, but it only just invades the bacteria and it starts its replication inside the bacteria and leaves the bacteria. That's it. So it will not cause any harm to the bacteria. Okay, and and instead the page DNA upon penetration into Escherichia coli can cell can cause integrated into circular bacterial DNA. So already see now in this case, can you all observe, these all are the bacteriophages which are released in the lytic cycle. They will enter and they attack the fresh bacteria. Once they attack the bacteria, already I have told you there's a genetic material inside the bacteria, that is a bacterial chromosome. So they combine with this genetic material which is released from the phage DNA. This combines with the bacterial DNA or bacterial chromosome and starts combining with the genome of that and starts replicating. Can you all see the phage is replicated along with the bacterial DNA and goes with the binary fission. So here once it combines with the bacterial chromosome, it undergoes binary fission. Binary fission, you already know that one bacterial chromosome, one DNA will be becoming a 2 DNA. The cells becomes twice here. See, the first division, the second division, you can find 2 bacterial chromosome with the viral DNA. So this both will be undergoing division, binary division, and you find 2 bacterial chromosome with the viral genome is present. So in this way they start the binary fission. Once they start the binary fission, you can find the binary fission is completed and you find there is a cell wall formed. You can find each and every there is a cell wall produced, and you find this cell as a completely becomes independent and they get separated from the body of the bacteria. Like this we have two things, two bacteria cells with viral pages are being developed in this way. This is called phage DNA, which is incorporated and which is undergoing binary fission, and this gets separated and forms 2 daughter progeny. And in this way you can find that there is no destruction to the bacterial body, but only it goes into the, it just undergoes, it just gets incorporated into the virus and starts the division. So thus it has no impact on the bacterial body or the host cell. So this is about the lytic cycle, and this propage or this propage remains latent within the progeny cells. However, in some rare spontaneous events you can find the phage DNA separates from the bacterial genetic material, leading to the initiation of lytic cycle. It may enter into the lytic cycle again, and you can find this cycle going on like this. In this way you find that lytic cycle only has so much of impact on the bacteria, but lysogenic cycle just undergoes binary fission and gets separated. Either